Hi. Okay, so hi, I'm Sunny. I'm a freshman, and this is my dad. And so we have time for a few questions to be asked for anyone who wants to. And I have the opportunity to ask the first question. And I feel like I already know a lot about you because I've spent a lot of time with you. But I guess I'm wondering what your favorite song you just performed and what is the reason for that?
Like my favorite song that I've ever performed all time?
I mean, I guess like just now, the past four songs.
Oh, just now tonight. Well, I really liked playing the first song, which was by Roy Hargrove. And I started this nonprofit music school about 20 years ago. And Roy Hargrove once came and played a fundraiser for us. And it was such a profoundly touching performance for me. He was a really amazing man and a virtuoso musician. And he would have been so proud to see kids playing his stuff tonight. And he died about a year and a half ago, and it was a really sad thing. And he was someone I loved very much. So the opportunity to play his song tonight with the Thacher students meant a lot to me.
Does anyone else have any questions? Yes.
Connecting with people's hearts makes a great performance. I've been, all of my adult life, I've been performing, and I often think about what Bob Marley said about recording and performing, which was the content of what you're doing is much less important than the motivation and the earnestness and integrity with which you do it. So I feel like no matter what you're doing, if you go out and all you care about in that moment is touching people's hearts with, channeling something beautiful and touching them, you're in pretty good shape for doing a good performance. Yep. Which always made me think like it didn't matter whether you were playing classical music or punk rock or reggae or hip hop or anything. It's the emotional intent behind it.
Any other questions? Yes.
I just want to know how you got into music and why you like playing it so much.
When I was a kid, I grew up in my father was a real businessman who had a briefcase and wore a suit and tie and went to work every day. And it was a very strict household. And we didn't have any music around it at all that I remember. But then at a young age, my parents got divorced. And my mom took up with this guy who was really kind of a disaster of a guy. He had a drug problem, and he was just kind of a mess, but he was an absolutely brilliant jazz musician. And we lived in New York, and we went from living with my dad, who lived in this we lived in a real nice middle-class house, to moving into his parents' basement. He lived in his parents' basement, like this teeny little basement. But in and out of it all day were these jazz musicians playing music that was unlike anything I ever heard. And I just remember the first time I ever heard them play and saw these guys just blowing jazz, these incredible jazz musicians, and being a kid and just rolling around on the floor in absolute ecstasy, just thinking that it was a magic trick that I couldn't even imagine that human beings could do. And it touched me so deeply, and it seemed like something with such infinite power that ever since then I was absolutely consumed with the idea of doing it. And it's just always given me so much joy and healed me from my problems and given me just everything that I ever could imagine.
Anyone else?
Was that too crazy of an answer?
No, that was great.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I guess, the best parts are often, I think, starting out, and having an idea that you don't even necessarily know how to articulate yet, and kind of seeing it take shape. And But I guess all the best parts are connecting with my friends who I love very much, and um, coming up with an idea and seeing it take shape. Like just something that seems so vague and esoteric and it doesn't even exist. It's like this invisible thing floating around in the air. And you go into a recording studio and you start banging away on your instruments and you go back and listen to the speakers and there's this thing, there's this song, and it becomes a part of history, and it becomes a part of time, and if you're lucky, people care about it. So I guess those are the things that I really remember, just seeing things that seem so vague and foggy, like all these murky colors, turn into this really tangible thing, you know, you can hold, like a record or a book or whatever it is. So I guess just, you know, the creative process, the magic of it.
Yes.
Hi, Flea, Thacher. I'm curious, the Red Hot Chili Peppers continue to evolve and change with every album. How do you keep it fresh as a band creatively pushing things forward?
Oh, thank you very much for that. It's you know, the band, we've been together nearly 40 years now. And I say the thing that, you know, for one thing, people keep quitting and leaving. And so we always have to kind of reinvent, and it makes it different every time. But more than anything, I feel so humble in my relationship to music. You know, there's so many people that are just, you know, light years better than I could be, and I just I can't really speak for everyone else, but I just feel like we always feel like we're students of music, and we're always trying to learn, and we're always curious, and you know, I'm just fascinated by the possibilities of music, and there's always musicians coming along that just blow me away, and so every opportunity I have to like try to, if I could just play a little bit of what that guy could do or that woman could do, I'd be growing as a human being. So just like the desire for growth, and always a student. I'm a student.
Yeah, Lex.
Hi, I'm Lexi, and I was just wondering if you started by playing bass initially, or kind of what led you to getting here?
I started playing trumpet when I was a kid. I just wanted to be a jazz trumpet player. That was my goal in life. I just, you know, wanted to wear a suit and play in an orchestra, play in a cool jazz band. And then when I got into high school, I became best friends with this kid named Hillel Slovak. And he played guitar in a rock band. And one day he asked me to learn to play the bass and to play in his band, just because we were such close friends, and he wanted to play with me, even though I didn't play it. And literally 2 weeks later, I was on stage in a club in Hollywood playing a show in a rock band, and I just never looked back. Yeah. And it, you know, it helped my social life a lot too.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Seti. I'm a sophomore, and I know Seti's middle name is Bebop. I don't mean for that to be weird. I was wondering if that was your favorite jazz genre, and if not, why?
Well, you're one of the few people who knows that it is. I applaud you. And it really is, yeah. It's like, you know, when I talk about my stepdad playing jazz when I was a kid, that's what they were, progenitors of bebop. And for me, it's kind of like a real cultural high point for this country. It's a music that you know, works cerebrally. It's enormously sophisticated, as well as being a really emotional, spiritual, human expression, and something that I aspire to and that I admire. And it's just a fun word. So yeah, we named her Sonny Bebop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jordan. I'm just curious to know, what is your favorite Red Hot Chili Pepper song to perform live?
Oh gosh, I don't know. You know, it's funny. I think it's hard for me to separate out the songs in the Chili Peppers, because I just kind of look at it as this big body of work. But so many of the songs are really aggressive and rocking out and wild that I always really treasure playing the slow ones. There's one song called Hard to Concentrate that I love a lot. It's on the Stadium Arcadium album. And it's just this slow, pretty song. And I don't know, I always really look forward to playing that one when we do it live. And some of the best ones we play so frequently that I can't, you know, I get less excited about them. But really, I can't say that I really have a favorite. Like, it's for me, like every time we play live, and I've played thousands and thousands of concerts, my only goal is to be of service and to just to really be conscious of all the people that change their lives to come see us play, and to honor that, and to try to be a vehicle for a love that's way bigger than me.
Yeah, I can't see who that is, but yeah.
Hi, I'm Mariah. I was wondering if when you were younger, you knew that you would be where you are now.
That's a good question, because I'm lucky that the Chili Peppers have been really successful, selling lots of records and playing big concerts and stuff. But I just had no reference point for what success is. I mean, I was kind of a wild kid. I was, growing up, I was kind of a street kid from a very young age, and barely went to high school, and my only dream was to be able to pay rent and eat by playing music. I started by just when I was just like 18, I was working full time. As soon as I got out of high school, I was working full time, and I just thought if I can not have to go to work and I can eat and pay rent by playing music, that was my dream. And I think perhaps that I did not have designs to be really financially or business successful, that I didn't even really know what that meant or what it was, because it wasn't real to me or something that I understood, that those kind of things really flowed easily. Like I'm sure you've noticed in your life that when you really want something, you squeeze it, it's really hard to get it. But when you kind of open yourself up, things flow easily. And that's kind of how it's been in that regard.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Peter. I'm also a freshman, and I was just wondering, even though this is just a small high school crowd, you brought so much energy and excitement and entertainment to the stage, and I was just kind of wondering where you get that from and where you draw that. Is that just for who you are, or is that your love of music, or where does that come from?
Well, once again, thank you for the kind words. I don't know, I think one way I'm just an entertainer, it's what I do. But kind of what I was saying before, like I try to be a channeler. I believe that there's divine cosmic energy in the universe, and I try to get out of the way and let it speak. And I know, like, whenever I've done anything in my life that I've been unhappy with, or when I've not played well or acted like a jerk or anything, it's when I get away from that mindset and I forget to just let the light flow through. So, when I'm at my best, at my very best, as a musician, as a human being, as in anything, as a husband, as a dad, is when I'm in a place that's kind of beyond thought or design, and in a place where I'm just kind of letting the good stuff flow. And that's what I always try to do when I play live or do any artistic process.
Yeah, Diego.
My name's Diego, and I'm curious as to how you got your stage.
I'm not exactly sure, but I'm pretty sure that the singer in my band gave it to me one day. He just started saying it, because he used to call me, he said I was being judgmental of him, and there was this movie we liked called Judge Roy Bean when we were kids, and he used to call me Beanie, and then when he was mad at me for being judgmental, he started calling me Judge Roy Bean. And I just remember one day he started going like, Fleester McBean, or like saying that to me and calling me Flea, and I'm really not sure exactly, because there's like 5 of my friends that take credit for it, and I don't know who did it first, but it really stuck. And I was always littler than everybody else and always jumping around like a maniac. So it just, And when it really happened, there was this a hardcore punk rock band in Los Angeles called Fear. And those guys were all like 10 years older than me. When I was about 18 years old, I joined that band. And they were like, super popular in LA at the time. And they were like these tough punk rock guys, And when I went to go audition, And I didn't, people called me Flea once in a while, sort of as a nickname. And when I went to introduce myself, I said I'm Flea because I wanted to be cool and like have a weird name. And they started introducing me to everyone as Flea. And then I met this woman called Penelope Spheris who put me in this movie called Suburbia. And then all those people called me Flea, and then my professional career just kind of started blooming, and it happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Lucian. I'm a sophomore, and I was just wondering, a lot of people, or like most people, usually hit rough patches, especially in careers and such. For those bigger ones, how would you recommend getting through them?
For rough patches like professionally?
Professionally, emotionally, all of that together.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I think kind of a question that every human being asks themselves, because we all go through times of anxiety and depression and stress and feel like things are overwhelming and they're hard to deal with and feel betrayed and misunderstood. And this is the most cliche thing in the world, but love is the only answer, learning to love yourself, learning to be forgiving, not holding on to resentments, all of those things, life is hard. Life is a challenge. I mean, you're in high school. I know that you already know things are challenging. I know there's times when it's stressful and stuff, and as you get older, you have more responsibilities and you make mistakes and you suffer all manner of, you have physical problems, emotional problems, intellectual problems. And for me, it's always been like the solace that I find is always in I'm just going to love no matter what. And, connecting with nature and connecting with the things that are, the infinite life forces that are around us. I think those are the answers.
Yeah.
I'm Owen, I'm a senior. You brought up that movie Suburbia, and I have to ask, was that a real rat that they gave you?
It was. It was. I got so sick of that rat. For those who don't know, it's just like this kind of punk rock cult film, Suburbia. It was the first one I did, and my character had a rat all the time, and I put it in my mouth at one point, and just acting up for the camera. But no, there was just a rat. And it was like, "You want to be the guy with the rat?" And I was like, "Okay." Because the director that made that movie, like no one had ever acted before. We're all just like a bunch of punk rock kids, and she asked us, and because of that, it kind of ended up me having this strange acting career that persists. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Mariana, and you mentioned growing up with a lot of jazz, and I was just wondering if you wanted to have that same kind of household and childhood for Sunny.
Wait, if I wanted to have my house to be, say that again?
You wanted like your household to be like very musical and the same kind of experience that you had as a child for Sunny.
Well, I definitely didn't want her experience to be like mine, because mine was really not a peaceful experience. My house was pretty rough growing up. But I definitely wanted Sunny to be exposed to lots of different things, like different cultures, different languages, all different kinds of music, from like the weirdest dissonant electronic music to the most beautiful classical music to jazz. Just always, especially when she was a little baby, just always different rhythms and different types of phrasing and different types of people, I feel like it's one of the most difficult things for human beings is to be caught in one way of looking at the world, like to grow up in one culture and to think that that's the center of the universe and never reach out. And so that's the only thing I just wanted her to have a sanctuary at home and to be exposed to lots of different stuff.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Alex, and I was wondering, what advice would you have for young, aspiring high school musicians?
Practice, 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 practice. Yeah, I mean, being a musician is a lifetime pursuit, and I for any musician is, I look at it sort of like when you play music or when you do any artistic endeavor, any endeavor at all, there's times when, you just feel inspired and you're ready to go and you have great ideas and it's all flowing. And there's times like whoever said earlier about the rough patches where you just feel dry and don't have anything. But the thing is to be diligent and whatever your craft is, to do all the groundwork and the diligent work, like the construction work, the stuff that seems really mundane. And then when the cosmos come, like when the waves of inspiration come, then you have all the stuff ready to do it. It's like being a surfer and there's no waves, but you go out and paddle every day to make your arms strong, so that one day when the waves do come, you're strong and you're ready to ride that wave. And I feel like that's how it is in life. Like you don't just get to be like have like people who you're really close to in your life, and you build loving relationships. You can't just be nice once in a while when it serves you to be nice. You have to live a life of someone who's always, keeping their heart open. So when it's really important to be open, you don't have to pry it open and force it open. It's just open. And I think like with anything that you do, it's a lifelong, daily, diligent pursuit. And, many of us learn that painfully, but you learn it if you care.
Yeah.
Oh, millions of people. I mean, but I've been really fortunate to play with so many people that I admire, and I hope to continue that. There's so many people that I could sit here and list people that I'd like to play with who are around still, but I've been fortunate, like outside of my band, to play with artists who I really, really respect. Yeah, I don't feel like I should go listing names, but there's so many artists that inspire me that I would love to play with. Like Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah.
I'm Wyatt, and I saw your shirt, and I was wondering what your favorite Miles Davis song was.
Well, my favorite Miles record is probably Kind of Blue. That's when I was a young kid playing trumpet, that was a record that I listened to a lot, and it just occupies a really warm, beautiful place in my psyche and in my life. But I kind of like everything he ever recorded. I love it all. But like as a trumpet player, I played along with that album 1,000 times, and it feels like it's, it's like, as a musician, I think there's like music that you find interesting, that fascinates you. Like I'm always trying to listen to new things and discover things I don't know about. But then there's that music that's just like comfort, like the things in your life that you go to it for solace and comfort. It's like getting into a bath or the ocean or something and just feeling soothed. And that Miles Davis record is probably number one for me.
We have time for one more question. Yeah. Bye.
I'm sorry, can you say that again? What was the second part?
Can you repeat it?
I'm sorry, because my ears aren't so good. When did my career take off, and how did it feel? Oh, okay. Sorry. Years of loud rock music have
You have to repeat things a lot of the time.
What?
You have to.
When did my career take off, and how did it feel?
Is that it?
Okay. Well, I when the Chili Peppers started, I'll never forget the first concert we ever played. It was about 2.5 minutes long. someone asked us to open up for them, a friend of ours, and we had never played before, and we came up with a song that day, and we went out and played it, and for about 40 people in this nightclub, that a friend of ours who was like this drag queen guy, who I really loved, and he did this crazy show in these robes, and he asked us to open up for him, and we played that night, and I remember, like, I had been working so hard on music, we were about, I guess we were 20 years old, and I felt this feeling like, almost like I was levitating, like kind of literally floating, and I felt this kind of energy in the room, and it was the most incredible feeling I had ever felt, and I really knew at that moment that everything, and that was like, nearly 40 years ago, that everything that happened could happen easily, that it was just there. I could see the path, I could see the whole thing, and I never doubted that, I just always felt like if we stick together and we do this, there's just something magic about it. There's when you're with people that you really love, even though sometimes you hate them, and even like as I grow up with my bandmates and we grow apart, we become really different, we disappoint one another, as people do over long-term relationships. There's something like with my friends, and we were like, walking around in the streets, like, how are we going to get lunch today? And there's like little hustles, and we just didn't have anything that we do, and there's some kind of connection that we had that it just speaks somehow, like all our frustration or our way of looking at the world, and our joy, our pain, just the love that we share, just comes out in the music. So I kind of like, even though it was years and years, and like the first time we sold, a record came out and it went to #1, and we sold 10 million records, that's all that stuff was always real exciting. But the thing that I always remember was the very beginning, and just like feeling a magic that was beyond the notes and the songs or anything. It was just a special thing.
That's all we have time for. Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.